The crystalline spires of the Astrian Grand Palace pierced the amber sky of Celestia Prime, their surfaces catching the light of twin moons in a mesmerizing dance of colors. Diplomat Nathaniel Parker adjusted his formal attire, a midnight blue ensemble adorned with the platinum insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps. At 32, he was one of the youngest senior diplomats humanity had sent to represent their interests among the stars. The Grand Hall buzzed with activity as various alien dignitaries mingled, their conversations a symphony of different languages and translation devices. The Astrians, known throughout the galaxy for their bioluminescent beauty and advanced civilization, had organized this gathering to negotiate new trade routes through contested space. Diplomat Parker, a melodious voice, called from behind him. "I trust you're finding our hospitality satisfactory?" Nathaniel turned to face Princess Valora of the Astrian royal house, and for a moment, he forgot how to breathe. Her skin shimmered with a subtle golden luminescence, her platinum hair floating as if suspended in water. Violet eyes, bright and intense, studied him with unconcealed interest. Her flowing robes, adorned with living crystals, emphasized both her royal status and her otherworldly grace. "Your Highness," he bowed slightly, maintaining eye contact. "The Astrian hospitality exceeds all expectations, though I must admit your presence outshines even the grandeur of this palace." A slight smile played at the corners of her lips. "Bold words, diplomat. Most representatives prefer to hide behind carefully crafted pleasantries. I find honesty serves better than pretense, Your Highness, even in diplomatic circles." "Indeed." She moved closer, the air around her humming with subtle energy. "Then tell me honestly, diplomat, what do you make of the rumors that the Drachnid Empire seeks to expand its influence in this sector?" Nathaniel took a sip of his drink, a luminescent amber liquid that tasted like sunlight and spice. "I think the Drachnids would be fools to challenge Astrian sovereignty, especially with Earth's new defense treaties in place. And yet they mass their fleets at the outer reaches of our territory." Valora's voice dropped to a whisper. "Perhaps we should discuss this matter somewhere more private?" The invitation in her voice was unmistakable, and Nathaniel felt his pulse quicken. He knew he should decline. Protocol demanded it. The princess was promised to Prince Thorn of the Drachnid Empire, a political marriage meant to ease tensions between their civilizations. "Your Highness, I'm not sure that would be appropriate. Since when does humanity concern itself with what others deem appropriate?" Her violet eyes sparkled with mischief. "I've studied your history, diplomat. Your species achieved the impossible by refusing to accept limitations imposed by others." Before Nathaniel could respond, the princess took his hand. The contact sent a wave of warmth up his arm, accompanied by a subtle golden glow where their skin met. They both stared at the unexpected phenomenon in surprise. "Fascinating," Valora whispered, not releasing his hand. "I've never seen the resonance manifest so quickly with a non-Astrian before. Come, I wish to show you something in the Crystal Gardens." As they slipped away from the Grand Hall, Nathaniel couldn't shake the feeling that he was walking into something far more significant than a simple diplomatic liaison. The way the princess's hand fit perfectly in his, the subtle golden light that continued to pulse between them, everything about this felt both terribly wrong and absolutely right. Little did he know that their departure had not gone unnoticed. In the shadows of the Grand Hall, Ambassador Raxus of the Drachnid Empire watched with narrowed eyes, his scaled hand tightening around his crystalline goblet until hairline cracks appeared on its surface. The human had no idea what forces he was about to unleash, what ancient prophecies he was unwittingly setting into motion. The fate of multiple civilizations would soon rest upon a connection that defied all known laws of biology and tradition, a bond that would either bridge the gulf between worlds or tear them apart forever. The crystal gardens of the Astrian Palace were a marvel of bioengineering, living crystal formations pulsing with their own inner light. As Nathaniel followed Princess Valora through winding paths of luminescent flora, he couldn't help but notice how the crystalline light played across her golden skin, creating patterns that seemed to dance in harmony with her movements. "The gardens are beautiful at night," Valora spoke softly, her violet eyes reflecting the ambient glow, "but I suspect you've realized this isn't merely about admiring the scenery, Diplomat Parker." "Nathaniel," he corrected gently. "And no, I don't believe it is." They paused beside a fountain where liquid light cascaded in mesmerizing patterns. Valora turned to face him, her expression both vulnerable and determined. "You intrigue me, Nathaniel. Your species is so young compared to ours, yet you've accomplished so much in such a short time. There's something about you, something that resonates with me in ways I can't explain." As if to emphasize her point, the golden glow between their still-joined hands pulsed brighter. Nathaniel watched, fascinated, as the light began to spread up their arms in intricate, flowing patterns. "This shouldn't be possible," Valora whispered, studying the phenomenon. "The bioresonance is a uniquely Astrian trait. It's never manifested with any other species before." The sound of approaching footsteps interrupted them, palace guards in their crystalline armor making their routine patrol. Without hesitation, Valora pulled Nathaniel behind a massive crystal formation. They pressed close together in the narrow space, their breaths mingling in the cool night air. As the guards passed by, Nathaniel became acutely aware of how the resonance between them had intensified. The golden light now enveloped them both in a soft aura, and he could feel something else. Emotions that weren't his own, wonder, excitement, and a touch of fear. "You can feel it too, can't you?" Valora asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "My emotions? How is this possible?" "The bioresonance is more than just light, Nathaniel. It's how my people connect, how we share thoughts and feelings. But this..." She gestured to the glow surrounding them. "This level of compatibility with a non-Astrian is unprecedented." Before Nathaniel could respond, a sharp pain lanced through his head. Valora gasped, clearly feeling it too. Suddenly, their shared consciousness was flooded with images, ancient prophecies carved in living crystal, two civilizations joined by a golden thread, a darkness threatening to consume the stars themselves. The vision ended as abruptly as it began, leaving them both breathless. "The prophecy of the star-crossed," Valora breathed, her eyes wide. "But it was supposed to be just a legend." "What prophecy?" Nathaniel asked, still reeling from the shared vision. "An ancient prediction that spoke of a bond between two different species that would either unite the galaxy or tear it apart." Valora's hand trembled slightly in his. The prophecy was dismissed as a myth because no non-Astrian had ever manifested the ability to form a bioresonance bond. Until now. A low, menacing chuckle interrupted them. Until now indeed. Ambassador Raxus of the Drachnid Empire stepped out from behind a crystal column, his scaled features twisted in a cruel smile. How convenient that a human diplomat should suddenly develop this miraculous ability, just as tensions with the Drachnid Empire reach a breaking point. "Ambassador," Valora straightened, her royal bearing asserting itself despite her obvious concern. "You overstep your bounds." "Do I, Your Highness?" Raxus's forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. "Or perhaps it is you who oversteps, consorting with this human when you are promised to Prince Thorn? I wonder what the prince would make of this development. Are you threatening the princess?" Nathaniel stepped forward, diplomatic training warring with an overwhelming urge to protect Valora, an urge he now realized came from both himself and their newly formed bond. "Threatening? No, Diplomat Parker. Merely observing that such a scandal could destabilize the very peace we're all here to maintain." Raxus's eyes gleamed with malicious intent. "Unless, of course, certain concessions were to be made regarding the disputed territories." Through their bond, Nathaniel could feel Valoris' anger rising to match his own. But beneath it was something else, a plan forming in her mind. He remained silent, letting her take the lead. "You speak of peace, Ambassador," Valoris' voice carried the weight of royal authority, "yet you resort to blackmail. Perhaps we should discuss this with my mother, the Queen. I'm sure she would be very interested in hearing how a Drachnid ambassador was caught spying in the private royal gardens. Raxus's scales darkened with rage. You dare. I dare much more than you know. The bioresonance between Valora and Nathaniel flared brilliantly, filling the garden with golden light. This bond you mock? It's already stronger than you can imagine. Go ahead, tell Prince Thorn. Tell everyone. Because this is just the beginning. As if in response to her words, the crystal gardens themselves began to pulse with sympathetic light, creating a display that made the ambassador take an involuntary step back. Through their bond, Nathaniel and Valora moved in perfect synchronization, their combined presence somehow more regal and imposing than either of them alone. Raxus looked between them, calculation replacing his initial shock. You have no idea what forces you're playing with, he snarled before turning sharply and stalking away. Once he was gone, Valora turned to Nathaniel, her expression grave. He's right about one thing, we don't fully understand what's happening between us. But we need to figure it out quickly. When word of this reaches Prince Thorn, he'll challenge the bond, Nathaniel finished, the knowledge coming to him through their connection. And we'll have to be ready. The crystal gardens hummed around them, their light pulsing in harmony with the golden glow that still enveloped the human diplomat and the alien princess. Whatever came next, they would face it together, their unprecedented bond already reshaping the political landscape of the galaxy in ways no one could have predicted. The news spread through the Astrian palace like wildfire, a human diplomat and the crown princess, bound by an impossible bioresonance. Queen Lyssandra's private audience chamber crackled with tension as she regarded her daughter and Nathaniel, their shared golden aura unmistakable in the dimmed light. So the rumors are true, the Queen said, her own bioluminescence flaring with controlled emotion. You've formed a bond with a human. Her violet eyes, identical to her daughter's, studied their interlinked energy patterns with intense scrutiny. Mother, Valora began, I know this is unprecedented. Unprecedented? Queen Lysandra rose from her crystalline throne, her movements fluid and precise. In 10,000 years of recorded history, no non-Astrian has ever manifested the ability to form a bioresonance bond. And now, at the most politically delicate moment imaginable, you form one with a human diplomat? Nathaniel stepped forward, his diplomatic training kicking in. Your Majesty, I assure you this wasn't planned. A deafening blast cut him off as the chamber doors burst open. Prince Thorn of the Drachnid Empire stormed in, his massive scaled form radiating fury. Ambassador Raxus slithered in behind him, a satisfied smirk on his reptilian features. This is an outrage. Thorn's voice boomed through the chamber. I demand satisfaction. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt Valora's spike of anxiety, though her outer appearance remained calm. The golden light between them pulsed stronger, instinctively responding to the threat. Prince Thorn, Queen Lysandra's voice cut through the tension like a blade of ice. You forget yourself. This is my private audience chamber, not your personal arena. With respect, Your Majesty, Thorn's scales rippled with barely contained rage, your daughter was promised to me. This human has corrupted her with his Earth technologies. It's obvious they're using some form of artificial resonance generator to simulate our sacred bond. That's absurd, Valora countered, stepping closer to Nathaniel. The bioresonance can't be artificially replicated. You know this. Do I? Thorn's reptilian eyes narrowed. Humans are known for their technological trickery. Their entire species rose from planetary confinement to galactic power in mere centuries. Who knows what secrets they've stolen? Nathaniel felt a surge of pride through the bond, Valora's appreciation of humanity's achievements mixing with his own. Our achievements came through innovation and determination, Your Highness, not theft. Then you won't object to proving it. Thorn's mouth curved into a predatory smile. I invoke the right of challenge under the ancient codes. If your bond is true, defend it in combat. The chamber fell silent. Even Queen Lyssandra's expression showed concern. The right of challenge was an ancient tradition, rarely invoked but absolutely binding when called upon. The human doesn't understand our ways, Raxus interjected smoothly. Perhaps I should explain. The challenge is a fight to the death. If you win, your bond with the princess is recognized as legitimate. If you lose. He let the implications hang in the air. Nathaniel felt Valoris' fear through their bond, but also her fierce determination. Images flashed between them, ancient warriors facing off in ritual combat, the sacred traditions that had governed Astrian society for millennia. He understood what was at stake. I accept the challenge, Nathaniel declared, his voice steady. Nathaniel, no. Valoris' protest echoed both verbally and through their connection. Drachnid warriors are bred for combat. Their strength, their natural armor, is formidable, he completed her thought, sending reassurance through their bond. But they've never faced someone with a true bioresonance connection to an Astrian. Queen Lysandra stepped down from her throne, her expression unreadable. You understand that if you accept this challenge, there can be no diplomatic intervention? Neither Earth nor the diplomatic corps can protest the outcome? I understand, Your Majesty. Nathaniel met her gaze steadily. Some things are worth fighting for. Through their bond, Valoris' emotions surged, fear, love, and a sudden flash of insight. Mother, she turned to the queen, if the challenge is accepted, we claim the right of preparation under the ancient codes. 3 days to prepare, as tradition allows. Thorn snarled in protest, but Queen Lysandra raised her hand. The right is granted. The challenge will take place in 3 days' time in the arena of ancestors. She fixed Nathaniel with a penetrating stare. I suggest you use the time wisely, Diplomat Parker. Few who face a Drachnid warrior in ritual combat live to tell the tale. As they left the chamber, Valoris' mind raced with plans, sharing them instantly with Nathaniel through their bond. There's something you need to see, she whispered. The ancient archives contain knowledge about bioresonance that's been lost to time. If we can understand this bond between us, truly master it, then we might have a chance, Nathaniel finished, feeling her determination mix with his own. Behind them, Thorn's voice carried one final threat: enjoy these 3 days, human. They will be your last. The challenge was set. Now they had to find a way to turn an impossible bond into an advantage that could save not only their lives but the future of 2 civilizations. The countdown to combat had begun. Deep beneath the Astrian palace, in chambers untouched for centuries, Valora led Nathaniel through corridors of living crystal. Their shared bioresonance illuminated the ancient passages, causing forgotten circuits of light to stir to life in their wake. The archives of resonance, Valora explained as they entered a vast circular chamber. Only those with active bioresonance bonds can access this place. The crystals respond to our combined energy signature. The walls were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift and flow, telling stories in light and shadow. As they moved deeper into the chamber, their shared bond triggered cascading reactions in the crystal matrices, awakening ancient knowledge. This is incredible, Nathaniel breathed, feeling Valoris' excitement mirror his own. Through their connection, he could somehow read the flowing patterns, histories of the Astrian people, secrets of their bioresonance abilities, and something else, something hidden deeper. Look, Valora pointed to a section of wall that began to pulse in sync with their own golden aura. The prophecy of the star-crossed. It's not just a legend, it's a scientific prediction. The patterns resolved into clear images, 2 different species, their energies combining to create something entirely new. But it was the next series of images that caught their attention, the combined energy being used in ways neither species could achieve alone. The ancient Astrians theorized that a cross-species bond would create unique capabilities. Valora translated the complex energy patterns. The resonance wouldn't just allow emotional connection, but actual physical enhancement. Shared strength, shared senses, shared power, Nathaniel finished, understanding flowing through their bond. He could feel it already, how their combined energy made both of them stronger, faster, more aware. A new voice echoed through the chamber. So you found it. Queen Lysandra emerged from the shadows, her own bioluminescence adding to the chamber's glow. I wondered if the archives would reveal themselves to you. Mother? Valora stepped forward. You knew about this place? I suspected. The queen moved closer, studying the patterns on the walls. The prophecy speaks of a time when the old ways would be challenged, when tradition would need to yield to evolution. I never imagined it would happen in my reign. Through their bond, Nathaniel felt Valora's surprise at her mother's words. You're not opposed to our bond? I am a queen before I am a mother, Lysandra replied carefully. The alliance with the Drachnid Empire seemed necessary for our people's survival. But perhaps. She gestured to the glowing pattern surrounding them, perhaps there is another way. A distant explosion rocked the chamber, sending cascades of crystal dust raining from above. Through their enhanced awareness, Nathaniel and Valora sensed multiple presences approaching rapidly. They're coming, Nathaniel announced, somehow knowing exactly where their enemies were. Thorn isn't waiting for the challenge. He's making his move now. The archives, Queen Lysandra's voice was urgent. They must not fall into Drachnid hands. The knowledge here, in the wrong hands, could be devastating, Valora completed. She turned to Nathaniel, their bond surging with shared purpose. We need to stop them here. Through their connection, Nathaniel could feel Valora accessing ancient knowledge from the archives, instinctively understanding how to channel their combined energy in new ways. He opened himself to it, letting the knowledge flow between them. The chamber's crystals pulsed faster, responding to their heightened state. As the first Drachnid warriors burst through the entrance, Nathaniel and Valora moved as one, their bioresonance manifesting as pure energy. Golden light erupted from their joined hands, forming barriers of solid light that blocked the attackers. Impossible, one of the Drachnid warriors hissed, his energy weapons useless against the resonance barriers. Prince Thorn pushed through his soldiers, his scales dark with rage. So the rumors are true. You've accessed the ancient powers. His own weapon hummed to life, glowing with an ominous purple energy. But you're not the only ones with secrets. The weapon discharged, sending a bolt of corrupted energy toward them. But Nathaniel and Valora were ready. Their combined bioresonance formed a perfect shield, the attack dissipating harmlessly against it. You fool, Queen Lysandra's voice carried royal authority. You would violate not only the challenge protocols but the sanctity of the ancient archives themselves? Protocols? Sanctity? Thorn laughed harshly. The galaxy is changing, Your Majesty. The old ways are dying. We're simply hastening their end. Through their bond, Nathaniel and Valora shared a moment of perfect understanding. The prophecy wasn't just about their connection, it was about this moment, this choice between preserving tradition and embracing evolution. As more Drachnid warriors poured into the chamber, Nathaniel felt their bond growing stronger, the ancient knowledge integrating with their shared consciousness. They weren't just fighting for their own survival now, but for the future of two civilizations. The final battle was beginning, not in the traditional arena of ancestors, but here in the depths of history itself. And its outcome would reshape the galaxy in ways none of them could have imagined. The archive chamber had become a battlefield, golden light from Nathaniel and Valora's bioresonance clashing with the purple energy of Thorn's corrupted weapons. The ancient crystals pulsed in sympathy, their light reflecting the struggle between tradition and change. Your weapon, Valora spoke through their bond as they maintained a defensive barrier. It's powered by corrupted bioresonance, isn't it? You found a way to steal and twist our people's energy. Thorn's scales rippled with dark amusement. For centuries, the Drachnid Empire has watched the Astrians hoard their power. Did you think we wouldn't find a way to take it for ourselves? Through their connection, Nathaniel felt Valora's horror as she realized the truth. The missing colonists from the outer settlements. Sacrifices for the greater good. Ambassador Raxus emerged from behind Thorn, holding a crystal container filled with swirling purple energy. Your people's bioresonance is remarkable, Your Highness. Even more so when properly processed. Queen Lyssandra's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. You dare use my people as fuel for your weapons? Progress requires sacrifice. Thorn aimed his weapon at the queen. The old ways are ending. The galaxy belongs to those strong enough to take what they want. But Nathaniel and Valora had been busy. While maintaining their defensive barrier, they'd been absorbing knowledge from the archive, their shared consciousness processing centuries of forgotten wisdom. Through their bond, they understood what needed to be done. You're wrong, Nathaniel stepped forward, golden light swirling around him and Valora. The old ways aren't ending. They're evolving. The chamber's crystals began to pulse in harmony with their bioresonance, creating a symphony of light and energy. The ancient patterns on the walls came alive, responding to their combined power. The prophecy wasn't about choosing between tradition and progress, Valora continued, their voices and thoughts perfectly aligned. It was about finding a way to preserve what's valuable while embracing change. Their shared energy reached out, not just creating barriers but actively connecting with the corrupted bioresonance in Thorn's weapons. The purple energy began to shift, responding to their call. No! Raxus shouted as the contained bioresonance started to glow golden. The processing is irreversible. But it wasn't. Through their unprecedented bond, Nathaniel and Valora could do what neither species could do alone, heal the corrupted energy, restore it to its natural state. The stolen life force of the Astrian colonists began to flow free, returning to the crystal matrices of the archive. Thorn fired his weapon in desperation, but the corrupted energy turned to pure light, adding to the golden aura surrounding the human and the princess. The Drachnid warriors watched in disbelief as their weapons failed, the stolen power returning to its source. You see, Your Highness, Queen Lysandra addressed Thorn with cold authority, true power isn't taken. It's shared. Something your empire never understood. Royal guards rushed into the chamber, alerted by the energy surge. As they secured the Drachnid conspirators, Nathaniel and Valora maintained their connection, using it to continue healing the corrupted bioresonance. The prophecy, Valora breathed, understanding flooding their bond. It wasn't just about us. It was about showing there's another way. A path between blind tradition and ruthless progress. Through their shared consciousness, Nathaniel could see the implications unfolding. Their bond wasn't just a diplomatic incident or a romantic connection, it was proof that different species could come together, combining their strengths to create something entirely new. The galaxy is changing, he agreed, feeling her thoughts align with his. But not through conquest or theft. Through connection. Through understanding. Queen Lysandra stepped forward, her expression softening as she watched them work. Perhaps this is why the archives revealed themselves to you. Not just to stop the Drachnids, but to show us all a new way forward. As the last traces of corrupted energy were cleansed, the chamber filled with pure golden light. The ancient crystals sang with renewed power, their patterns telling not just the story of the past, but writing the beginning of a new chapter. Valora turned to Nathaniel, their bond humming with shared purpose. This isn't the end, is it? It's just the beginning. A new dawn, he agreed, feeling her love and determination mirror his own. For both our peoples. For the entire galaxy. The prophecy of the star-crossed had been fulfilled, but not in the way anyone had expected. Instead of choosing between tradition and progress, they had found a way to bridge the gap. Their bond, between human and Astrian, between old and new, would light the way forward. As the twin suns of Celestia Prime rose above the crystal spires of the palace, their light merged with the golden glow still emanating from the archives deep below. A new day was dawning, and with it, the promise of a future where differences didn't divide, but strengthened. Where bonds between species weren't just possible, but essential. The human diplomat and the alien princess had done more than fall in love. They had shown the galaxy a new way to evolve, together.